It was summertime on the island of Sodor. Tourists and holiday makers were visiting in droves to travel the railway and see all the sights the island had to offer. The engines were rushed off their wheels, and along the coastline, the beaches were full of families enjoying the sunshine, playing in the sand, and swimming in the surf. Holiday seasons were a very busy time for Captain the Lifeboat. It was the first summer since the opening of the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre, and he would spend all day every day patrolling the beaches and making sure everyone was safe in the water. It was long work, but it meant Captain could visit places he hadn't properly explored yet. One of these places was Brendam docks, and one afternoon he chugged up to the quay where Cranky, Salty and Percy were chatting. "Afternoon, everyone," called Captain.
"Ahoy, matey," replied Salty. "What brings you here in our neck of the woods?"
"Just stopping by to get some fuel," replied Captain. "Been a very busy few weeks."
"Oi, keeping our beaches safe and sound?" asked Salty, with a wink.
"You bet," replied Captain. "They've been filled to the brim, what with this wonderful sunny weather."
"Well, I don't think it'll last," commented Cranky from above. "I can see storm clouds in the distance. Looks like they're headed this way." "Don't mind him," chuckled Salty. "Where have you been patrolling?"
"From Lower Sudbury to as far as Norramby Beach."
"That's a lot of distance for a small boat," said Percy, concerned.
"Small but fast," replied Captain. "Besides, now that the second Coast Guard lifeboat station has opened in Harwick, I only have to worry about this side of the island."
"That's a good thing too," added Cranky. "You don't have to worry about Shipwreck Point."
Captain's smile faded away. Shipwreck Point?
"Oi, that's what the sailors call it,"
explained Salty.
"But the local boats call it the ship's graveyard. Just south of here, there's Brendam Point, and near the old lighthouse, there's a spot of shallow water and jagged rocks. Many years ago, there was a period of time where the old lighthouse wasn't working, which led to many trawlers, trampers, and other ships to come afoul on the rocks, getting stuck fast. Most of them couldn't be rescued, and now there's a crowd of old hulking wrecks just sitting out there, slowly rusting away. Nowadays, the old lighthouse works again, so it hasn't happened in a long time. But still, on dark nights, ships tend to avoid taking the route west of here to avoid the risk of getting stuck there forever."
Captain felt a shiver go through his hull.
"But you've got nothing to worry about," smiled Salty.
Just then, a sickly-sounding engine was heard in the distance. Cranky gazed outward and saw who it was.
"Oh no," he grumbled. "It's Sea Dog."
"Sea Dog?" asked Captain.
"He's an old fishing trawler," said Salty. "And he's even worse than Cranky, if you can believe that."
Cranky was about to retort when they all heard bitter complaining.
"Unbelievable!"
Sea Dog grouched as he rumbled up to the quay.
"Carmen 2 is parked in the best spot as usual. Now I have to offload here. And don't even get me started on that dove. Why doesn't she just fly away back to the fishing village where she belongs?"
"A pleasure as always, Sea Dog," said Cranky sarcastically. Sea Dog was a fishing trawler who clearly looked worse for wear. He had an eye patch and a weather-worn face with an expression that immediately told you his temperament. And most notable of all was the horrid smell of fish that emanated from him.
"Just hurry up and get me unloaded,"
snapped Sea Dog.
"I have no time for your droll remarks and incessant grumbling."
Captain stifled a chuckle.
"And what are you laughing at?"
sneered Sea Dog.
"You almost blinded my good eye with that garish paintwork."
"I'm just enjoying the harbour atmosphere," replied Captain innocently. "Don't mind me." Captain was soon refueled and headed out of the harbour bound for the rescue centre. "Full steam ahead!" he called grandly.
"But he doesn't run on steam, does he?"
A few days had passed, and Cranky was right about the weather. Dark, foreboding clouds loomed overhead, and there was constant rainfall. Because not as many people went to the beach on days like this, Captain wasn't as busy, so one day he spent more time at the harbour. Just then, Sea Dog arrived. He looked very cross.
"Why the long face?"
asked Salty, shakily.
"We had a horrible day for fish,"
grumbled Sea Dog.
"Hardly caught anything. I reckon old T and Judith sniped up my usual spot."
"Well, not every day can be a success," sighed Captain.
"And what would you know?" scoffed Sea Dog. "I work hard. You just float around beaches looking fancy. Anyway, this evening we're heading up to Knapford. Captain says there's good fish up there. Might even catch enough for the flying kipper."
"Knapford?" said Captain, concerned. "Wouldn't you have to travel past Shipwreck Point?"
"Pah!"
huffed Sea Dog.
"It's just a bunch of old ships who should have known better. I can navigate through it with both eyes closed."
Just then, it started to rain again. "Right, better get back to the rescue centre," sighed Captain. "See you all next time." Despite Cranky and Salty's best efforts, Sea Dog would not listen to reason, and after the sun set, he slowly made his way out into the darkness. Cranky watched on, dreading the worst. Later that night, Captain was enjoying a nice rest in his shed, when someone ran in.
"Wake up, Captain, wake up!"
cried a worker.
"Reports have come in that Sea Dog never reached Knapford. There are concerns he got lost in the storm and stuck somewhere near Shipwreck Point."
Captain gulped. "The ship's graveyard," he muttered. But he knew that helping someone in need was the right thing to do. "All right, let's go," he said urgently. "We have no time to waste. Full steam ahead!" Captain rolled down his ramp and into the cold water. He quickly made his way down the coastline and past Brendam docks. Cranky and Salty were still working and saw Captain race past. "Good luck!" Cranky called, and Captain tooted in return.
"I hope the lad won't be too late,"
sighed Salty to Cranky. By now the storm had passed, and every now and then the full moon would poke through the dark clouds. Captain looked everywhere as his headlamp shone into the dark. "Sea Dog!" he called out. "Sea Dog!" Soon they approached Shipwreck Point. Captain could see dark figures in the distance. Huge, rotting metal shapes of boats, large and small. Jagged rocks pierced the water, and Captain started to feel anxious. "Sea Dog!" he yelled again. "Are you here?" Nothing but the eerie sound of creaking metal and wind whistling through rusted holes could be heard in response. "He must be here somewhere," Captain sighed. As they carefully ventured through, Captain thought he could smell something. Something unexpected, but familiar. "That's Sea Dog's odour," he thought. His eyes lit up. "Sea Dog!" he called one last time.
"Who's there?"
came a feeble reply. Captain quickly chased the sound and eventually found Sea Dog sitting helplessly between two foreboding ship carcasses. "There you are!" cried Captain. "How did you get stuck here?" Sea Dog looked abashed.
"We thought we could take a shortcut closer to the coast,"
he replied.
"but the storm made it hard to see. We lost track of the lighthouse, and my hull scraped a shallow rock, knocking out the engine. We've been floating here ever since, and my captain's been trying to get his radio to work, with no luck."
"Well, luck is on your side now," smiled Captain. "Come on, let's get you to safety." Captain and Sea Dog's drivers grabbed a chain and connected the front of Sea Dog to the back of Captain. Then they slowly and carefully snaked their way through the still and silent wrecks that surrounded them. It took a long time, and by the time they were on approach to Brendam Harbour, the sun was already rising. The clouds had now gone, and everywhere was covered in a beautiful glow. Cranky and Salty saw the two boats approaching, and they looked at each other.
"Thank goodness!"
cried Cranky.
"By Neptune's beard!"
laughed Salty.
"They made it!"
Captain pulled up to the quay, and Sea Dog was moored. The docks manager scolded him severely. "You were impatient and reckless," he said gravely. "You endangered yourself and your crew, and you missed the flying kipper anyway. You're lucky this exceptional rescue boat found you." Seadog looked down, saying nothing. "We'll have Terry take you up to the shipyard at Tidmouth to be fixed," he continued, "and I want no more trouble after that." He turned to Captain. "Meanwhile, I've passed on your actions to the rescue centre manager, and he said that as a reward you can have the rest of the week off if you like. They can send down a boat from Harwick." Captain smiled. "Thank you for the offer, sir," he replied, "and as wonderful as that sounds, I would rather be out and about patrolling and keeping everyone safe." The manager nodded and walked away. Then Seadog addressed everyone.
"I'm sorry about everything," he stammered. "I know I've been a bit hard on everyone."
"You can say that again," grunted Cranky.
"Hush you!"
scolded Salty.
"Let the boat speak." "And especially to you, Captain," continued Seadog. "You came and rescued me even after I was rude to you, and I'll never forget that. And I'll never be reckless again, I promise." "I thought you would have learnt your lesson the first time," chuckled Salty. "You have the eye patch to remind you."
Captain raised an eyebrow. "What happened there, if you don't mind me asking?"
"Oh, that's another story for another time," interrupted Salty. "Haven't you got beaches to watch over? It's a fine day for swimming after all."
"Oh my, you're quite right," started Captain. I must be going. I'll see you all soon. Full steam ahead!" And Captain raced out of the harbour to do what he does best.